RSU, options, ESPP, ESOP, ISOP. What do they even mean? When I was working in tech, no one could really explain in simple terms what my tax implications were from the equity in my compensation. There were times that I had to explain to the accountants what I mean. It took about 3 tax returns to find an accountant who knew what I was talking about. This is why I created equitytax.ai, an easy to use AI powered app to help you calculate tax payable based on your equity. Try it out today at equitytax.ai. Welcome to Fiery Femmes, the podcast where high achieving women build wealth, redesign their careers, and create lives with real freedom. I'm Sheena, an accredited investor, former tech sales professional, and the founder of Fiery Femmes. After a decade across global SaaS, startups, and my own reinventions, I realized the most powerful thing a woman can have is optionality. So, in every episode, we explore the future of work, the psychology of wealth, and the practical strategies that help women build careers and lives that evolve as fast as they do. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited to have you on the pod, and it's a very different business, and your journey has been so different as well. Obviously, I know you, but the audience probably doesn't. So how would you introduce Michelle Bell in a typical, I guess, like pitch night?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. It's something I've had to hone a lot over the last few years, especially depending kind of when you meet people. But yes, my name's Michelle Bell. I'm a former journalist. I lived in New York for about 8 years, working at many different publications. And then I sort of shifted into the tech startup space. And I've been doing that for the last few years. I built Cosmic Universe, which is a compatibility astrology app to really help people connect. And then we've kind of evolved the business to be using that tool into live dating and social events.
I love this astrology. This is we know we were right all along. And I feel like this is just like a sweet, sweet validation on top.
100%. I think it's always been, I mean, look, it's thousands of years old. I'm not trying to pretend I'm the one who invented it, but I've been a massive astrology enthusiast my whole life. I think you can use it seriously. I think you can use it as a fun tool as well. And I think nowadays it's becoming so mainstream, as you said, like people are finally sort of catching on, and it's not this sort of like very weird woo-woo thing that it can sometimes be portrayed as. So yeah, I kind of see it everywhere in pop culture, no matter what I'm looking at. I feel like every single day, astrology is somehow in the conversation.
Absolutely. It's so good as well that now it's coming to life how a lot of top people in who are, I think it was JP Morgan. I read it somewhere that JP Morgan believes in astrology, something around like millionaires and billionaires.
Yeah, it was millionaires don't believe in astrology, billionaires do. So I like that one.
Definitely. And I know there are a few cultures as well who definitely look at astrology before you get married to find the right time, the right date. So there's something in it.
Definitely. And I think that's exactly it. Like I said, it's thousands of years old. There is so much research. I think everyone, it's kind of like anything. It's how you want to interpret it. I don't think there's like a right or wrong in this place. Some people, as we, our philosophy within it is we combine Western Chinese, because I think it's really beautiful to have those two intersect. It gives you different layers of people's personalities. Whereas some people are full I just care about my birth chart and my moon, rising sun, and that's absolutely fine. So I think we're just a very celebratory community that is like, however you want to identify yourself, however you want to show up, we're just on board with that.
Absolutely. And before we get into all the sun, stars, and moon, I'd love to know, Michelle, what is not on your LinkedIn profile? Something that's totally, maybe something that's not even in like the publication on the internet.
What is not on my LinkedIn profile? It's a very good point, because I feel like I'm quite vocal on LinkedIn these days. What is not on that's a very good question. Can we come back to it? I want to have a proper think about it.
So, but also because you have the journey from like journalism, and I know like journalism physically takes you to places as well. So can you tell us about your career in journalism and how you picked it as a career?
But when I went to university, I studied sociology and philosophy and a little bit of psychology. And I had kind of no idea what I wanted to do. I just enjoyed writing essays. I enjoyed content. And so it was only after I graduated that I was like, I actually would love to write. That's kind of what I want to do. Ironic that I've just graduated. So then I did a journalism course in London, but I could do that from wherever. So I actually went to Australia and I did that course, kind of working remotely. And then I just decided to go to LA. I just thought there's just something in me. I have family there. There was just that kind of gut feeling of I feel like I should do that. And it was incredible. That's kind of where I started my journalism career. I worked at many different places, kind of more in the entertainment showbiz side of journalism. But then that kind of wore on me and I wanted to do something a bit more serious. So I thought, why don't I go to New York? And then I kind of broke into the breaking news and that side of journalism. And everything just kind of took off from there. I worked at the New York Post, the Daily Mail, People. I was one of the founding execs of the US Sun out in New York. So yeah, that was kind of my journey.
That's huge. Oh my gosh. How long were you in LA and New York for?
So LA was only about a year and a half and it was incredible. Don't get me wrong. It's an amazing place, but I just was young in my early 20s and I wanted something. I was hungrier for a bit more a bit more work, a bit more ambition. So I just thought, where else in the world is going to kind of really test me? And that was definitely New York. So I was there for about 7 years.
You must have enjoyed and loved New York. It's such an
Oh my
amazing
God.
place.
It's incredible. Really, really fun. Like it's literally where I made such an incredible friendship group. It's where I say job hopped. It was always, climbing that ladder, just trying to find if I got offered an opportunity that was better pay, better experience. I was like, why would I not do this? Why would I want to kind of, limit myself? So yeah, I kind of just kept climbing that ladder as much as I possibly could. I had a lot of fun. That was my single days, pre-kids, pre-marriage. So obviously just really did the very classic, work hard, play hard, I would say.
And those, was that pre-COVID?
It was a little bit of both. So I moved back to the UK in 2022. So I experienced COVID in London as well as New York. So it was a very interesting time. I actually got married on the 10th of March, 2020. So
Wow.
literally the day before it was declared like a national epidemic. And so that was a very interesting time. So we actually came back to the UK, spent it with my family for a few months. And then, yeah, we went back to New York a couple months later and experienced COVID there. So it was very weird time to see New York dead is a very strange thing, especially now.
Yeah, it's very surreal, right? But
Mhm.
when you were, I guess, like when you were building your career, having those partying days, the work hard, play hard, was majority of that in pre-COVID days?
Yes. Yeah, that was majority pre-COVID. So yeah, there was no limitations. However, New York was also a very funny place post-COVID too, because they, instead of shutting things down, they just allowed you to drink and eat on the streets. So as long as they had tables on the streets of New York, like they didn't shut anything down. So really, yeah, New York was a different beast in that sense. I know Australia was slightly different from my brother lives there, so I understand it wasn't quite as relaxed, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But I also feel like people's attitudes to going out and like having fun was so different, like pre-COVID to
Mhm.
forward, like the years after COVID. So I'm very glad that you and I have experienced like those days.
Yeah, exactly. I think everyone's lives changed in very different ways post that. Thank God I think New York is back to its normal state and I did love it. But ultimately I kind of, went down the kids and husband route. So I thought let me go back to my roots in the UK and have some help from my family.
Absolutely. Would you say when did you start with Cosmic Universe?
So I was pregnant with my first son, Max, and I was on maternity leave from the US Sun. And I just sort of had this feeling of like, I don't know if I want to go back. I don't know if I want to go back into that journalism world. It's extremely demanding, not just kind of physically being in the newsroom and things like that, but just emotionally, mentally, you are constantly switched on to everything that's happening, especially as I was in the kind of audience data. I kind of transitioned from being a journalist into that realm. And that is, pure traffic based. So all, they care about is getting those numbers, acquiring that. And obviously, as we kind of all know in news, it's not always the nicest news that gets the most amount of coverage and press. So I think for me, it was just something I was like, I don't feel comfortable going back to that. And I'd like to also do something for myself. I want to be a mom. I want to work. I want to do it all. I don't want to have to choose between either. So that's kind of was the start of Cosmic Universe kind of in my brain. But we kind of officially launched in 2022 towards the latter end of the year.
That is, I think, I wouldn't say like common, but I know a lot of friends who once the grind of corporate, I would say, and it gets too much. And especially as you said, like you're in journalism and it's bad news sells. And I remembered being glued to the TV when there's like absolutely chaotic times. And for you to be exposed to that, it's just constant negativity and you're just like,
Mhm.
so hopeless and great decision.
Exactly. It just grinds on you every single day. And I think for me, I was like, I have loved this. I love storytelling. I love content, and I do love data. I love like analyzing things and understanding things, people. And that's literally what my business kind of turned into. You know, Cosmic Universe is literally about people, personalities, connecting one another. So I would not be able to have built that without that background and without that experience. So I 100%, don't want to squash journalism at all. I love it, but it was just a transition into something different, and also something that I had autonomy over. I got to decide what to do. I got to choose, which is so exciting, very daunting, but it is incredible to be able to build something from scratch and actually say, wow, I did that,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And what was, I guess, like, how did Cosmic Universe come about? I know that sometimes like ideas don't come, or like what it is now was probably so different to when it was born in your brain. Like, how did it start?
No, exactly. So like I said, it was very much content driven and content based. So I have studied this my whole life. I've been so interested in it. And as I said earlier, I love the merging of the Chinese and the West as well. So for me, I was just like, let me brain dump all of this into, putting it into something. And I thought the best way to do this is to put it into an app. That's the best way to kind of digest all of this information, and also developed a compatibility function using both sides of the West and the East. So at first it was literally just me and one developer and just building this. The very first version of the app is extremely different to what it looks like now. But again, you have to start somewhere. You just got to kind of like put it down on paper or in digital form. That was the very first beginnings of it, was the first version of the app.
How did you find your developer? Is it a co-founder?
No, so that developer's no longer with us. He was great, but it was just someone I found on LinkedIn, I want to say, just to help me, just literally, I'm not the technical guru. I'm very much, content journalism, data. So I needed, obviously that help. So he was incredible in getting us to that stage, but I've got an incredible development team now who have got us kind of to where we're at.
That sounds amazing. And it's great as well that you've built, you've had your prototype, the first version, and now you have an incredible team around it. That's amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think with anything, I'm going to try not to use the word pivot because that's such an overused term in the startup world. When we developed the app, my goal was to just get as many downloads as we could, really understand the audience. Like, what do they like? What do they not like? What features are they using? So that was so valuable in terms of really understanding, like, okay, this is great and content's fun, but what are we actually what are we doing here? So once I kind of analyzed that data and understood what was happening, it was just so clear that people wanted to connect and people wanted to meet and people wanted to date and be in real life. So now we host dating and social events all across the UK and launched in New York just recently.
That's so exciting. How did people hear about Cosmic Universe when you launched, and what's your strategy now when you're launching in new markets?
Yeah, it's such a great question because it did kind of evolve into like a secondary strand of the business. So Cosmic Universe is the name of the company. Cosmic Fusion is actually the name of the app. And then with the live events, we actually named them Love at First Sign because we just wanted it to be its own entity, like something obviously that is part of the Cosmic Universe world, but it's its own kind of section. It's its own part. But yeah, building building that community has been so fun because there is absolutely a crossover with app users and dating customers, but there's also just those dating customers, which has been so fascinating. They are so much more vocal in a good and sometimes bad way. But I think having that in real life aspect, people are really excited. They are genuinely there because they want to meet someone. They're not just behind an app. I think people, I don't have to say it's so overly said, but people are very over swipe culture and all of this stuff, which is why we never turned the app into a dating app. We have a compatibility function that is used for the events, but we don't there's no swiping right or left on people, anything like that. It's very much like you're in person at the events and you use this to help you connect a bit deeper.
It's a dating app, however, but not
So it started as more like a self-discovery app. So you download the app, there's lots of features. It tells you your sign, your Chinese and your West. You can ask questions specifically that will give you answers based on your birth chart. We have a tarot function. So there's lots going on and it's more about yourself. However, there is the match feature where you can put in your partners, your crushes, your family's birthday, and it will give you a compatibility score. It will give you deep personalized answers again about your compatibility with one another, about them separately. So it's not a dating app, but there is that element of it where you can kind of discover your matches and stuff. And so with the events, we have a very cool tech system where you just QR scan to match, and it's very fun and you get an instant report basically. And that's what's kind of the driver of the events.
That's so cool. So people then, it almost breaks the ice for people who come to the events.
Exactly that. I love that you said that because icebreakers is one of the things that we use to sell the events. Like we genuinely, some people come and they're extremely nervous. We get all different types of people, don't get me wrong, but there is a big portion who are really putting themselves out there and find this kind of stuff quite nerve-wracking, even though they want to meet someone. So for us, we do have that. We have this tool, we have this icebreaker element of the night where you don't have to think too hard, you don't have to worry, and it just gets you talking, whether it's, we have very silly questions on there as well as something a bit deeper, as well as astrological. So it just kind of mixes everything together to give you just this kind of your wingman for the night.
It puts you in a relaxed state. You don't have to think too much about anything. You're almost guaranteed to have a good time and meet someone you will like.
Exactly. What I love to always think about is you have all booked this event. So there's obviously something that is connecting you all here. Do you know what I mean? You have all seen us somewhere, whether that's on Instagram or a friend has told you about it or whatever. You have still decided to book an event and come to this place. So there's definitely that very fun element of there's already a connection. There's already something that you are aligned with.
Yeah. So easy to kind of break the ice, get to the event, and you'll meet your person, your people.
Yeah.
Could you download the app and meet friends, or is it romantic partners only?
Again, so glad you asked that because obviously the love at first sign is more for dating events, but there's a massive, we do loads of university activations and events for purely social purposes because not everyone is looking to date, especially the younger crowd who are just starting uni. They just want to meet friends. So there's 100% you can just connect on a social level. There's not this is a dating company, but obviously a lot of people that is what they want. So there's definitely, depending on who you are, you can kind of use it as a social tool or as a dating tool.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah, I thought I'd ask because if people are, in relationships, but they just want to meet new friends to click with, that would be great.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's exactly that because you just get talking immediately. You're like, oh, you're a Leo. That means this. And oh, my rising's a Taurus. And it's like, oh, mine is this. And it's just really fun to see those conversations just develop. And I think don't want to be too sexist because I know there are men who love astrology, but obviously more with women, you get that a lot, don't you? It's you immediately start asking people what they are. And it's just an instant icebreaker, even if it's just friendly.
Yeah. Or what I usually do is if they share their birthday or I'm like, oh, when's your birthday? I'm like, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's like, okay, yeah, you're a Scorpio. Okay, I get it.
I get it now. It makes a lot of sense. So you kind of foresight on what your relationship with that person might be.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. And what would you say during these events that you've done, do you go around, because I know you're big on content,
Mhm.
you go around asking people what sign they would like to meet or what sign they would like to date?
Yeah, it's fun. And, so it depends on the event as well, because sometimes they're so willing to like be on camera and answer these questions. Sometimes, again, they're a bit shy, but it is really fun. We have like some really cool content where we literally just have people say like what their star sign is and who they're interested in. And some people don't know enough, which is what I love. They're still booking an event to come to us. They know that we are astrology based, but they don't know, they're a novice. So I think that's really fun as well, because they're literally coming to something new and different to educate themselves and come from a different perspective. So it just really depends who it is, because you get people who literally can recite their birth chart, recite your birth chart, and then other people who are like, what is Pluto retrograde, Lucozade? And they just have no idea.
Pluto retrograde sounds like a bad time. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, that's not a good time. No, retrograde is a great time.
And during these events, is there a sign that people or your guests in the event are telling you, we don't want to date this sign?
No, to be fair, no one has actually been that. I think people use that in a playful way. I think, Geminis and Scorpios get a bad rap. So I think, people joke about that sometimes. But to be fair to our daters, they're very open minded. And that is the one thing, like in our descriptions of the events, when we're selling the events and talking to people about coming, our biggest thing is just come with an open mind. Don't come with any, any prejudgments, any thoughts, just literally show up and see how the night unfolds. We have fantastic hosts that literally host the evening for you to make sure that you're comfortable, you're having fun, it's guided. We're not just like chucking people in a room and saying, get on with it.
Amazing. So you have hosts as well. Is it kind of
Hmm.
like, are there games during the night? Are there like activities that you do?
Yeah, exactly. So we have a host per every single event. So every event will be hosted by, someone who's obviously been trained, obviously loves the app, loves the business, loves the ethos. So again, like throughout the evening, you obviously come, you sign up, you register, you arrive. And then obviously we have the match function where you just do the QR scan to match. And then obviously you kind of like meet people through that way. We have optional cosmic speed dating. Some people, depending on the crowd, want that element of the night, but we are not a speed dating company, but we will offer that if that is something that the daters want. And then within the app, we have so many things. We have something called like spin the cosmic wheel, which has loads of categories. And again, it's used as an icebreaker for the evening, where you can either do it in groups, you can do it one-on-one. So yeah, there's lots of fun games, and every city is very different and every host is very different. So we have a format, but depending on how the evening goes, who's hosting it, where it is in the world, it all looks slightly different, which is also amazing. It's not a very outdated setup. It's kind of depending on who the person is, again going back to personalities, judging on that.
That's really good to hear as well, that and like visualize, because obviously it's not in Australia yet, but I can
Yeah.
definitely imagine it would do so well. I was at an event today and they said it was like a VC event
Hmm.
and said that Australia is second to downloading companion apps.
Wow, that is
So,
so interesting.
right? So I was just like, well, we know that there's the loneliness epidemic
Mhm.
for sure,
Yeah.
but basically people are paying actual money to download apps instead of talking to people or connecting with people.
Oh my God.
I think they just don't know how.
I think that's it. I think that's why we're trying to use technology. Like technology is not going to go anywhere. It's only going to advance and get better, and people are going to use it more. So why can't we use that but bring it back to the humans, bring it back to the humans and connect in real life while still having this tool? I think it makes me sad to think that there are people out there that don't know how to communicate because they feel so reliant upon social media or whatever it is. And I'm glad you said loneliness epidemic, because that's something massive over here too, especially in universities, which is why one of the reasons we wanted to go there is because there is this massive loneliness epidemic. They aren't socializing as much, they aren't drinking as much, which isn't a negative thing, but it means that they just don't feel like they should go out. They're ordering delivery to their rooms, they're not socializing in the canteen and things like that. So for us, when we've been talking to unis and collaborating, they've been so excited because they're like, oh my God, there's a reason to get them out and to connect and to be in real life together. So yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy because there's such a resurgence, right, of in real life events, which is
Mhm.
amazing. There's a generation that didn't really get to learn the social etiquette, how to look at each other's eyes and not feel awkward. I
Yeah.
see a lot of people can't make eye contact.
Oh my God, I know, and I know what you mean. I haven't been back to uni since I was at uni, which wasn't that long ago. But obviously, going there and meeting these young students, it is funny. Some have incredible social, etiquette and can have conversations, can hold eye contact, and it's brilliant. Others, you can literally see them like looking down at their feet and not knowing what to do. And like, it's so, it's just really something that I think is so important that we can try and combat because that's literally what we are. We're human beings. We're supposed to connect. Literally makes us live longer in order to
Yeah.
do that. Yeah.
I've been thinking about, I'm like, oh, would it be fun to like host a how do you say, it's like a social, not social awareness, but it's like how do you have like is it small talk or socialization workshops? Because I feel like the world has forgotten how to actually do X. How do you open a conversation if you're out in public at a networking event? What are the things that you talk about?
hmm It's so true. And I think it's just everything's about experience, isn't it? Because the more you do something, the easier it is. And I think whether it's a networking event or a dating event or a social event, everyone can have a level of anxiety going into it, not knowing how to present themselves. And I think just, the biggest, I think, lesson is just do it. Just literally put yourself in uncomfortable situations. And that's how you're going to get better. That's how you're going to meet people. That's how you're going to date. And I think that's what I love about our community is they are really putting themselves out there because it is daunting. It is something that is scary or like, what if no one talks to me? What if I don't meet someone? And I think that's why we're so big on having a host and having these nights be guided so you don't feel alone and you can, whether you find someone that you fancy or match with, if you can leave still just having a good time and meeting some friends, like that's success in my book.
I am so glad to have this conversation because obviously like making sure that people are having a good time is core. I feel like
Mhm.
become so serious
Yeah.
in the last few years and like have forgotten to have fun. So this is amazing. Can you tell me how often do you usually have these events in London?
So we have up to 50 events all across the UK in about 25 different cities now.
Month?
Yes, a month. Yeah.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Again, I've got a fantastic team that is very experienced in running these events. But it's amazing because, like I said, we have a format, we have a formula, we obviously have an incredible community that is growing all the time. And we just recently launched in New York. We kind of wanted to wait until kind of entering the US, but we had this incredible rooftop called Starchild reach out to us to collaborate. And they are just, they literally kind of complement us. They're called Starchild. They have their own tarot reader. So they were very aligned with the business. So we just thought, how can we not?
It is literally quite, the stars have aligned so that
Yeah.
you can launch in New York City quicker.
hmm
I feel like New York, I get a lot of the astrology on my Instagram algorithm.
hmm
Obviously, they know their people. And I
Yeah.
feel like New York, LA, there's a lot of people who do believe in that and very
hmm
much, yeah, I think it's a lot of your ICP and users will be there.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, our app community is massive in the US. Like that's actually like the biggest portion of where our users are is the US. And I so for me, New York and LA, obviously I have a personal attachment to it as well. But those two places 100% are where our people are at. That's they absolutely love this. So I can't wait to kind of enter the LA side of things as well, because I think it will resonate so well with the people over there. And it's yeah, just really excited to continue to grow and scale.
So exciting. So are you gonna have events in Starchild in the New York rooftop um for the rest of the year?
Yeah, so we've got already for the rest of this quarter, we've already got events scheduled with them, and then hopefully just continue to do that across the rest of the year. Look for some new venues as well, just because just to have a different mix. But yeah, we've got lots of scheduled with them already.
My God, how exciting. I'm definitely gonna link Starchild, Cosmo Universe, obviously, and so that our listeners from US who's in
Yes,
New York
amazing.
can definitely check it out, and our friends in the UK can check it out. We have a lot of listeners from the UK as well.
Hey, amazing.
So I had a guest from UK, and that definitely drove numbers, but also my in-laws are in the UK, so maybe they are listening to this.
Yeah. Okay. Amazing. Amazing.
But that sounds so fun. Where can people find you? Where are you most active on social media?
So I'd say most probably Instagram, TikTok as well, but I'd say Instagram. So Cosmic Universe Official is the Instagram handle, but that's where we put all of our content, whether it's Cosmic Universe, the app, or our Love at First Sign events, it's all on there.
Yeah, amazing. And I know we're gearing towards the end of the show, but you've moved from journalism to starting up an app, being in tech. Well, you've seen all the changes as well through the times. What advice would you give to 20-year-olds today who are just starting out their career or maybe thinking of what to choose for their degrees?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I feel very fortunate that I could have gone to the US. I was actually born in North Carolina, so I do have a US passport. So that made my decision a lot easier. However, I still would just say, just do it. I think, my go by my gut a lot of the time. Again, like I said, I love data, I love looking at things, but I do think there's something in trusting yourself. And if there's something that, your conscience, your gut is really telling you to do, just do it. You've got to fail, you've got to experience. So even if it's moving to another country to do something and it doesn't work out, that's fine, but you won't have any regrets. So I think for anyone in their early 20s, just literally experience it and do whatever it is that you want to do. And in terms of your degree, I wouldn't worry too much about it. I think people pivot and transition all the time. And I think it's so much pressure when you are at school and at university to decide your life and to be like, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to be, when there's so much to choose out there. And especially as the way the world is evolving in terms of the jobs, sometimes the subjects aren't even related to that. Do you know what I mean? So I think learn as much as you can, especially with the times, and yeah, just do it, literally.
Amazing. And yeah, I totally agree with the pressure that people get put in to choose a degree to do for the rest, to commit and do for the rest of your life. And also to get into debt, student loan,
Mhm.
that it's a big amount of money for a 17 or 20-year-old person, young person to
Mhm.
commit. I actually think it's predatory.
It's insane. I mean, I think the UK is very different to the US. I know the US, the kind of amount of money that tuition is and the debt that they get into that they have to then worry about in their early 20s is absolutely mind blowing. So yeah, I completely agree. I think you actually can get more experience just being out in the world and working and doing things. And there's so many courses now too that you can do online. You don't have to do the traditional kind of step by step these days.
100%. And I think that's why like universities are freaking out because I think the the younger generation have caught on that one, they can learn things from YouTube um
Hmm.
well and apply it pretty well as well.
Yeah.
Um so now the universities are like, I don't know, we don't know what to do. How do we
How do
re-give
we
value?
tease them? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my goodness. And what is one thing that you would stop telling young women in tech?
That I would stop telling them. I think so. It's a really, really good question. I think also being in the tech space, it is very male dominated. And I think my biggest piece of advice is firstly, don't compare yourself to anyone, especially men. But also, people are just, I think we can get so worked up by putting people on pedestals, especially in the business world, especially in the tech space. And they're all just humans. They all started somewhere. So back yourself, don't be scared or intimidated by these people, whether it's tech, whether it's finance or whatever industry you're in. Just kind of, got to go in be quite fearless and just not care what people think. And yeah, back yourself.
I love that. That is so inspiring. And I can't wait to put this out in the universe. And I'm sure people will love it. Everyone, I'm an astrology girly myself. My friends are. We always support each other and ask each other whether like what retrograde is happening because everything
Yeah.
seems so excited for this, but more importantly, to share to other people that Cosmic Universe exists, and it's such a fun way of meeting new people.
Yeah, exactly. Well, look, thank you so much. It's been so much fun to talk about it. And I love that you are an astrology girly. It just makes it that much better. But yeah, I genuinely built this app for people to help themselves on a daily basis. You can come there for whatever reason you kind of want to, self-discovery, just to help you day to day. And as you say, we have all the information, whether it's a retrograde or a full moon or anything like that. So yeah.
And before I forget, the LinkedIn question,
Yeah.
what is something? Actually, I picked up a few things so I can answer
Okay.
it for you.
Oh, you want to answer a poll? That would be so much better.
So you actually said something. I'm like, what do you mean? So you said that you were born in New Carolina,
Yeah.
South Carolina, and you have a
North
US.
Carolina. Yeah. Okay. I guess a fun fact. This is very easy now that we've spoken and you know more about me. So yeah, I was born in North Carolina, hopped around a lot. My mum is a single mum with 4 children. So we went from Australia to North Carolina to Puerto Rico to Canada to London. So I grew up in London from 5 years old. I feel like this is a whole other podcast, maybe for another day. I can see your face. You're like so many questions.
So many, because we also moved a bit as well, but like that 4 kids, single
Yeah.
mom, that's a lot of moving.
It's madness. But the fun fact is that when I was in New York, I really wanted a dog. And so for my husband's birthday, I got him a dog and he is from North Carolina. So it's a very cute full circle moment. So we drove from New York to North Carolina to get him. And now he's back in the UK with us.
Oh my God, so cute. You have to show me a photo.
I will. And he's an Aussie Shepherd. So that just makes it even cuter.
It's like full circle on
Full
the
circle. Yeah. So there we go. I was able to answer it in the end. So that's good.
Yeah, there you go. So that you've actually answered the question along
Amazing.
you. So all good.
Oh, amazing. Well, yeah, thank you so much. This was so much fun.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Fiery Femmes. If this resonated, share it with a woman in your life because we rise higher when we rise together. Don't forget to follow and review. It helps more women access the tools and conversations that build wealth and confidence. For more career and financial empowerment, come hang out on Instagram and YouTube at Fiery Femmes. I'll see you in the next episode.